So in this video, what we're gonna do is actually dig into split flexibility. What are the best drills and exercises to improve split flexibility? And a lot of people get really confused here. There's so many stretching exercises online. There are so many things. And what I wanna do, we'll just go through the exercises and kind of give you the fast, kind of quick hits so you don't gotta spend all the time. But I will also include some links below for that as well. Before we dive in here, a couple things just to take care of. One is we are doing a lot more of these summary videos for people because they're finding them very helpful. So if you want to stay up to date, make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you hit subscribe down below because a lot more stuff is coming out each week. Second thing really important is that we are doing some absolutely epic giveaways this whole month, right? So if you are seeing this video, hop down in the comment section below, put 24shift, hashtag 24shift. At the end of the month, we're going to take all the people who have commented, put them in a hopper and give away one really big prize that we're going to talk about at the end of the video. But for now, let's dive right in. All right, so when we look at some of these things, what do we want to kind of start here with? Okay, so the first thing is that I think people really understand that basic soft tissue care is important, but they're maybe sometimes confused on what and how much to do. Okay, so what I want to show here is just a pretty basic exercise, right? Just foam rolling your quads, foam rolling your hamstrings, foam rolling your inner thigh, foam rolling your outer hips, right? The reason that foam rolling is helpful is it gives a temporary increase in range of motion. The way we think this works is through blood flow, through desensitization of different muscle fibers that are maybe a little sore, and reducing perceived soreness, right? A lot of the research here is around blood flow, around water content, around desensitization, and it's temporary, right? It's not going to be like the ultimate permanent split flexibility solution, but doing these things before you've actually worked through some more specific exercises can be super helpful to desensitize the area and relax tone in the muscle bellies. So all you really need to do here is probably about 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds per muscle group. So I would get the quads, I'd get the hamstrings, I'd get the inner thigh, I'd get the glutes. Just real basic, maybe 30 to 60 seconds, right? Maybe just one set is fine. And again, 30-second tempo is totally fine, doable. But also the thing is we want to probably try to get this every single day, right? Really what the research says for stretching and any sort of flexibility work in particular is that consistency is more important than intensity. So we really want to make sure this is part of our daily schedule just to hop on there and kind of go for it. Now, common errors we see here. So number one is that people are going way too hard, man, like way too hard. If you look at the research, you don't need to absolutely crush yourself for this to work. Okay, we're not breaking up scar tissue. We're not breaking down fascial adhesions. There's a lot of really good research kind of saying that's maybe not what's happening. So you really don't need to go super hard. If you're sore, it might be a little bit more tender and it might be a little uncomfortable, but that's really all we're looking for. It's just moderate discomfort, okay? Number two is they do it for way too long. People spend 45 minutes foam rolling and stretching and they don't actually work out or work on their flexibility. So yes, it's important. Yes, I use it. Yes, the research has some support for it, but don't make it more than 2-3 minutes, right? Don't go super crazy. Okay, the last thing I would say is a big error is only using foam rolling. People literally go from foam rolling to try to go do splits or jumps or leaps or different exercises to work on their flexibility more, and they probably jump the gun. There are some other things that we need to work on. Okay, so that's the first one. After that though, the next thing I really like is very specific muscular-based stretching. Now what I mean by that is that when we set these stretches up, we really want to make sure we understand the anatomy, we understand what we are intending to stretch here. Okay, so let's take the quad, for example. The quad muscle goes from the bottom of the pelvis on the AIIS, right? One of the quad muscles, the rectus femoris, goes all the way down from the beginning of the pelvis all the way down to the kneecap and then through the patellar tendon. It blends with the other three quad muscles. Now, if we have someone setting up this stretch and unfortunately they're not aware of this and they have a really overarched lower back position like you see here in Hannah, what happens is we actually shorten the quad just a little bit and we're just reducing the effectiveness of that quad stretch. So for people trying to get hip flexor stretch, quad stretch, we really want to make sure we tuck the pelvis under. As you see right there, we brace the core and we really squeeze the glute on the downside, right? This is the best way to make a really effective stretch because if we hollow in here, the hip flexor actually starts at the spine, right? The lower back comes through the iliacus, blends into the lower hip bone here and then the thigh bone. So we really want to make sure we tuck the pelvis under, we hollow in, we squeeze the glute, and we actually push down with this front hand. This is a super effective stretch to really get the quad and the hip flexor going. The first version where we're just doing a really overarched pelvis position, we're probably slacking the hip flexor a little bit and slacking the quad a little bit, and moving into a really deep arch lunge position is probably just going to put some pressure on the hip ligaments of the capsule and maybe the lower back, and just not a super effective stretch. Okay, so we want to make sure we do this nice hollow core controlled stretch here, right? Maybe 30 seconds, 2 to 30 seconds. The research kind of shows from a couple great research studies like Thomas et al. That about 2 sets of 30 seconds, 5 to 6 days per week is really what we're shooting for to make an improvement in range of motion for any type of stretching. So static stretching, dynamic stretching, some stuff like that, PNF stretching. It does work if you do it consistently and for the right length of time. Okay, so 2 sets of 30 seconds is helpful. That same research didn't say that 2+ minute holds was super important. So this is probably fine. fine. We want to do this daily. Common errors are going to be, again, that arched back. We want to avoid that arched lower back position. We want to really make sure that glute is engaged on the bottom leg, which is down here. And we really want to make sure someone is not holding their breath. So nice cycling of breathing kind of in and out. All right, so that's number 2 that I really like. Number 3 is actually gonna be more of a dynamic kind of active leg lower. This one's really specific to splits, but I love this one. So someone's gonna go on the back here. They're gonna kind of sit on the edge where their hips are real close to a block. They're gonna hold the top leg here and really make sure that top leg is straight. And then keeping the core braced, we're gonna slowly let our leg lower down until we're feeling a pretty good stretch on the top leg, okay? So as Hannah lowers down here, what we're gonna see is we wanna get a really good stretch in the top leg. So by lowering this down, she's probably feeling a big stretch here. So we wanna kind of cycle it up and down until we feel a stretch on the top leg's hamstring. That's really gonna be an effective stretch. And the reason I like this is because, one, it obviously works a really good split position with the bottom leg is getting the hip flexor stretched out a little bit, the top leg gets the hamstring, but also the core is really, really engaged here. And someone can control this tempo and this lower. Sometimes when someone just sits in a passive split, they're really arching their back. They're kind of just resting there. They're not really focused on their core control. They're not really focused on their form. So I really like this one because it helps to get a lot of things kind of in one position. So reps here are going to be about 10. We're going to do about 2 sets on each leg. And we're going to try to go about a 3 to 5 second lower tempo all the way down with a nice 3 to 5 second hold at the bottom. We can definitely do this one every single day. And again, some common errors are going to be maybe we're going too fast. This top leg is bending a little bit too much and we're not getting a true hamstring stretch. And then that back arching, right? If someone's running out of hip flexibility, they might arch their back to try to get lower on the block. We don't want that. We want a really nice hollow core here. So I love leg lowers. I usually do these in a circuit. I'll do 30 seconds of foam rolling and then maybe we'll do a true quad stretch and some hamstring work. Then we'll go over here and we'll do a little bit of a leg lower and then we'll move into the next things that we're doing, which will kind of take us to number 3 in the countdown, will be some sort of banded kicks or active flexibility. So I really love these because they are a really great way to work on active flexibility, but in a nice resisted way. So the last 3, we kind of do a more passive and kind of like warm up or dynamic stretching. These are a much more active controlled kick, right? So you can see here, Heather's got a band from around her ankles here, looped around, and she's moving really fast, right? She's kicking straight up and down, trying to really get a nice effective snap up and down. So these are really, really great because they can work that full range of motion for splits, but they can also get a bunch of different angles very, very fast. You can see Heather's able to do on her back, she's able to do on her stomach, she could do some side kicks as well. So I love these because we can really easily get a nice set of 10, maybe in like 30 to 60 seconds, and athletes can really focus on their form and their leg tightening, which I know a lot of coaches struggle with. So I love banded kicks. I think for some athletes, maybe the band's a little bit too hard and you can start with just their body weight of their leg and not use the actual elastic band. That's fine too. But I think that resisted bands are typically good. The last caveat I'll say is make sure this band is cut to the right length, right? So you want to make sure that somebody gets the correct distance of this length to make some tension. The way you do that is you have someone go in a split and measure kind of a loop all the way down to a loop, or they can kick to a handstand and go into a split and you can kind of measure there as well. In the gym, I would just say kind of cut out like 5 to 10 different ones and put them all together. That way there's different lengths for different athletes and things like that. That way you're not going through 1,000 rolls of elastic band. So errors I just want to see is this, errors I want to prevent, I should say, is one, again, it's just too hard. If the elastic band is like the hardest difficulty and the athlete's like 6 years old or 8 years old, the thing's not going to budge. It's going to move like 2 inches, right? So make sure it's an appropriate level and resistance for the athlete. Really try to make sure those legs are straight the entire time and really try to make sure that chest stays square. They don't want to be rotating their hips or rotating their chest to the side, okay? So those 3 things are things you want to look at all the time. All right, and then my number 1 absolute favorite must do is some sort of slider eccentrics. Now the research is really great here. The research definitely says that consistent stretching, consistent range of motion work definitely does help with increasing range of motion, but it may not change the actual length of muscles. Okay, and we'll include some studies down below that can dig into that. But instead, loaded eccentrics, so either loaded RDLs or loaded split sliders like you're seeing here, or loaded rear foot elevated split squats, we think over time with load, it actually can cause the muscle and some of the tendinous structures to get a little bit longer in nature. So this is really great for kids that are growing, right? When you're growing, your long bones, the bones of your shins and your femurs grow way faster than your muscles can keep up with. And that unfortunately causes growing issues, growing pains, but it also causes quite a bit of frustration and flexibility. So these kind of nice slow lowers are super, super helpful to get somebody nice and long, but also work something in a very specific split pattern, okay? So what we're doing here is we're gonna be between 2 blocks, between 2 springboards, sliders on the heel. We're gonna keep the hips very square and slowly lower out for 5 seconds. We're gonna hold the bottom for a 5-second hold, and then use our hands to help on the way back up. Okay, so we really want to make sure that someone is doing a good job of keeping their hips square. We want to make sure that someone is not going too fast. We want to make sure that someone is not bending that front knee. Okay, those are the common errors that we see. Again, we probably do 5 repetitions, about 2 sets with maybe a 5-second lower and a 5-second pause. And we'd probably do these at least twice per week. I think 3 can sometimes happen, but 2 is definitely really, really good. So yeah, there you have it. Those are my 5 right there. And if you want to learn all more about flexibility, strength, drills, coaching technique for bars, beam, vault, if you're a person interested in gymnastics, medical care, or strength and conditioning, or gymnastics coaching, or some technique work, we're going to have a massive event in June. That's the 2023 SHIFT Symposium. If you're listening after this, there will be recordings available. You can still check the website out. But this is going to be an absolutely epic event. We have 30 expert speakers from around the world, international elite Olympic coaches, expert medical providers, expert strength conditioning coaches. We're going to go through 3 live days of just phenomenal jam-packed information. Okay. So if you want to check that out, hop into the link below. We have it here, but shiftmovementscience.com/2023 SHIFT Symposium. But also for the YouTube channel that's kind of hanging out here. Again, if you jump in the comment section and you comment #24shift at the end of the month, we're going to go through all the comments on YouTube who did that. We're going to hop it into a raffle and we're going to give somebody a free set of tickets. So you can join the SHIFT Symposium if you are the lucky winner. But again, that has to be someone who is subscribed here, who likes the channel, and is down in the comment section below, who has definitely commented. So we'll go through all those at the end. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed this episode here. We're checking out some flexibility stuff. Also, let us know in the comment section if there's other episodes you want to learn from. We'd be happy to take feedback. We're going to try to get 1 per week out, maybe once every other week, or twice per week if we're really doing pretty well with a lot of suggestions. But we love putting these out. We love they're super helpful. So see you guys next time.